you know, a lot of dogs, that doesn't matter to us, does it? No, no. So, because it doesn't matter if we're tired and sore today, right, Ron?
Wait till you get old.
I'm in it with feeling something. But why automate?
Yeah.
The first one I have up there is reduce physical labor. Okay? Efficiency, improve care for your livestock, increased management accuracy, and data collection. Which all lead to, if used in the right combination, increased profitability. Anybody drawing a correlation here? Anybody at all? Ron, you got a smartphone, Ron?
No,
or you got,
I don't.
Okay, well, I'll pull this little thing out of my pocket. We all know pretty much what pivots are in this room, right? There's an application on here, on this little deal, where you can go on there and start and stop that pivot dock. So I could still be sitting in the feed yard with this thing on my Verizon internet, and I could turn my pivot off. That keeps me from jumping in the pickup, driving down the road 8 miles to go shut that pivot off when I really need to be looking at that ear or that lamb that's in the feedlot there. So I think that adds to increased profitability just a little bit. I mean, we have this technology and we must pay for it. So that's just one thing I want to think about, you know, get some thought going here. I mean, we still aren't to the point of being automated in our sorting and drafting. I try to shoot from Osborne Industries, and it works somewhat. There's a lot of tweaking. But we cannot really get an automated drafting system in the U.S. right now that I know of. There's a couple made and possibly made in Canada, but I have not seen them. We can get them, but for the money, I do believe that we could possibly build them cheaper than what we can and have something that we like if we work with a company that's willing to do a little bit of design. So it's just the thought process, the beginning stage of the thought process, but we've been thinking about it. So automated scales, they sort animals based on weight, automated inputs, they integrate with EID for your data. So as those animals are going through there, it's recording, and you have their number, their weight, and by plugging that in, if you set it up right, you can go back on their animal history or whatever to see who their dam and their sire were, to see what their feed performance has been. Do you tie it in with your scale head on your feed truck? So if you're running the Digistar scale head, well, you can tie it in with the Digistar scale head on your weigh scale, get your EID in there and Bluetooth it to your cell phone, carry it back to the house, plug your cell phone into the computer and down. That may be too much. What level do you need that? Do you want to track those animals on an individual basis or pin by pin basis? That's something we need to think about as well. We use preset sorting points in the industry. What you are sorting on is primarily set either on your board, on your sorting machine, or from your computer, and you upload it to the machine, and then from those points determined there, that sort is made. And it's an on-off function. It's not sitting there saying, this animal is close to this. It is deciding within 1 or 0 whether this animal is going to make that cut or not. And so we look at that, and there's not much variable. A lot of these scales are weighing at 10 times a second. They're taking 10 readings a second. And so with that information coming in, there's a lot going in there that has to be sorted. And it's making that decision on 1 or 0 and picking on that average, on a bell-shaped curve, it's picking that average. And whatever your average point is, it is sorting based off of that. Okay, I'm getting a lot of confused looks, but that's how a lot of it happens, that these scales are made like that it picks the average of that weight that it takes 10 times per second.
They're pretty accurate, animals bouncing around.
That's why it's taking 10 weights per second.
So is that it, does it have to stop the animal, Barrett, or is this all done on a dead run?
They have to be stopped at this point to get, they can be hopping around a little bit. You can see variation if you were somewhere where you can read what that load cell is doing. Typically what you have is a load cell, and it's communicating that signal back into there, and that impulse from that board is sending being sent out to that load cell 10 times per second. It's getting a response back. So it's just a loop going back and forth, and it's pulling that 10 times a second. And so the animal needs to be stopped, and that's kind of, you can see that variation. I've seen it on pigs where it's jumped from, 270 down to 250, just in a second like that, or in that number flashes on there on some diagnostics that we have, and it bounces back and forth. Well, that animal's true weight may actually be 259, but from the way the pressure was applied on the scale, it depends. We can see 1/10 of a pound variation from front to back. Well, if that animal's jostling around enough force on a load cell like that, a little deviation will cause it to change quite immensely. So we're not talking much jumping is what it will take to change the sensitivity of your typical Cardinal or Clinitech or Tadea, any of the mainstream load cells that we see out there. It does not take that much pressure to change it. The pressure of me going from applying maybe even an 1/8 of an inch difference between my fingers could change it by 30 pounds, the way that some load cells are set up. So that's one thing that we need to look at. Those animals have to be stopped. They have to be restrained for that split second, and that's able to make a decision. And how do you sort off of that then? Some people use pneumatics, some people use hydraulics. I prefer pneumatics. You've got air there. It's fairly quiet. You can compress it easily. You don't have a pump or you don't have to worry about hoses breaking as much. Yeah, they may get brittle or whatever, but pneumatics are quite handy to have around. And another thing, I heard somebody say earlier, Bob, you said it looks like the first time she's been through there, right? Through that scale earlier. Well, in the hog industry, in these finishing barns, they set these scales up, 500 head of pigs per room, in a finishing barn. And those pigs are trained for 2 weeks. That's probably the hardest thing to get through our minds, is that the automated scale, it's not like where you can just run a set of lambs up there. You're going to be fighting all the time. You think about that, that's the first time, if you go to sort a set of fats, that's the first time that they've been through that scale. And we're all guilty of it because we're in a hurry. We got the old Paul livestock scale, we got the group scale, or whatever, that we run in there. You think of what Temple Grandin has preached, you got to see what the animals see. They're seeing that different color up there for the first time, And you hate doing it because it's a hassle, you're sore, you got to always push them through, they're going to lose weight. You're going to be behind the 8 ball when it comes time to load them out. Well, we should really look at our management style a little bit differently. And if we are collecting data, what's our performance really like? Maybe you're not collecting lamb weights at birth, but maybe we should be collecting a weaning weight and seeing what it's like. When we have these animals trained, they're not as afraid of that air release when they're through there at that point in time, in that automated scale. They've seen it before, and they're used to that sorting mechanism. It's just thoughts, but it's something to think about as we head into this age, because I do believe we'll see more and more. If not, we're going to get awfully tired of doing what we're doing. We've got the capability to do it. We just can't do it. So,
Are those tags red? When the animal comes across the scale, are those tags red automatic? Or does the one where you have to have the one?
those tags are red automatic.
That would save time.
Those are, I'm going to use your, okay. A lot of the panels, I can pull up a picture probably, but a lot of the panels that are used for RFID, they'll put one on either side. Some people use one, depends on who the manufacturer is. Ytex uses a single panel system. Osborne uses a dual panel system. Allflex uses a dual panel system. Depends on how charged your panels are and stuff. That if they can shoot that, if they can create that bubble. Basically, what that panel is doing is it's creating a loop here. It's sending that energy in there, and it will be going. It's an output that's either turned on or somehow, whether it's a circuit board or whatever it is, that it is turned on and it is energized during that whole time that equipment is operating normally. It doesn't matter whether it's that's how they're wired. So when that equipment shuts off, that energy is cut from that panel, and so it's no longer sending out that bubble. But that lamb just has to transect that bubble and send out the air.
You're opening a gate in the back of that scale to let one animal in at a time and close it behind.
Automatic.
Automatic?
There's a proximity switch. What we call a photo. There's a photo eye there.